Largest drill bit removed from skull. You're just an average construction worker standing on a 6-foot ladder, power drill in hand, carving a hole in a surface overhead. Suddenly the ladder began to wobble, causing you to lose your balance and fall headfirst onto the drill bit. The 18-inch long, 1.5 diameter drill bit penetrates your right eye, goes through the side of your skull, and comes out from your right ear. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot to say trigger warning, by the way. Despite the nightmare-inducing accident, you don't lose consciousness. Instead, you start yelling, probably something like, "Please help, I have a splitting headache." Well, this is exactly what happened to Ron Hunt from Truckee, California. Everyone at the hospital was scratching their heads, wondering, how on earth is Ron still alive? The answer is surprisingly simple. While the drill bit did penetrate Ron's skull, it didn't damage his brain at all. Instead, it just pushed it to the side and came out of his ear. So essentially, Ron had a hardcore skull piercing. It's surprising that this hasn't become a TikTok trend yet. The doctor unscrewed the drill bit without causing any more harm. Ron survived without any brain damage and went on to live a normal life as if nothing had happened. Of course, he did lose his right eye, but he also gained a world record, so it kind of balances out. Oh, also, if you're thinking he was very lucky, just keep in mind that he didn't have health insurance at the time, so he's probably facing crippling medical debt now. Most extreme body modifications. A body completely covered in tattoos, a face that's more metal than skin, a split tongue, and even horns protruding from the forehead. While this might sound like the description of a demon, it's actually just a man from Germany named Rolf Buchholz. Rolf is the living embodiment of extreme body modifications. Back in 2012, he claimed the world record for the most body modifications ever recorded, 516 to be exact. Among these are 481 piercings, with 278 on his genitals alone. Rolf's journey into the world of body modification began in 1999 when he was 40. And we don't want to say that it was a midlife crisis thing, but it probably was a midlife crisis thing. He got his first tattoo on his leg and was instantly hooked. And by that, we mean he literally got hooks attached to his body. Now Rolf's body is almost entirely covered in tattoos and piercings. He even has 2 horn implants. And let's not forget the scleral tattooing, which has turned his eyes so black, you might think he can see right through your soul. The thing is, Rolf earned the world record in 2012, and since then, he's been breaking his own records. It's kinda surprising because it didn't look like he had any more space on his body to poke holes into. Strangest diet ever. Let's go on an adventure inside the belly of the beast. In this case, the beast is Michel Lotito, aka Mr. Eat-All. At the age of 9, while most kids were still trying to figure out which ice cream flavor was their favorite, Lotito was beginning to develop a taste for the unusual. Metals, glass, rubber, and other toxic substances. You name it, he ate it. Upon examining Lotito, doctors found that the lining of his stomach and intestines was unusually thick, allowing him to chew on sharp metal without so much as a scratch. The only thing that was scratched was his toilet bowl later that day. Lotito's digestive juices were also so powerful, they could probably dissolve a doorknob. Realizing he has a unique ability, Lotito turned it into a performance art. In front of a speechless audience, Lotito would disassemble, cut up, and consume items like bicycles, shopping carts, televisions, and beds, washing them down with mineral oil or water. He even claimed to have eaten an airplane, a Cessna 150, for 2 years. The truth is, Lotito had an eating disorder called pica, which made him crave things that don't hold any nutritional value. But while pica could be dangerous for most people, Lotito's body seemed to have been built, or at least adapted to handle it. It's like his stomach just said, "You want to eat what? Alright, just send it in." In 2006, Lotito passed away from natural causes. Amazingly, his death had nothing to do with a strange diet, so it seems like he really did have a stomach of steel. Blindfolded coconut smashing. Let's say you and your friend are just 2 guys brainstorming ideas for a weird world record that would put your names in the history books. Then, like a coconut to the head, it hits you. One of you should be smashing coconuts around the other while blindfolded. Fast forward to you lying on the floor surrounded by coconuts, finally realizing that this wasn't the smartest idea. Your friend is blindfolded, mallet in hand, ready to go buck wild. Your friend starts smashing coconuts like he's possessed. Sometimes he misses, sometimes the coconut ricochets around, hitting you, but you stay still, trusting your friend, even though you clearly shouldn't. As the minute comes to an end, your friend stops swinging and you're still in one piece. Phew! This is essentially the story of the world record set by Miraculous, a group of daredevils from India. One of the members managed to smash 69 coconuts around another member in 1 minute while blindfolded. The good news is everything went smoothly and no one was hurt in the process. The bad news is someone's probably gonna want to break this record at some point, and things could still go very wrong when that happens. Chainsaw apple slicing. Continuing with the theme of what could possibly go wrong, let's take a trip to Shandong, China. Here we meet Wang Lei, a man who decided that the normal way of cutting an apple was just too boring for his taste. He realized that knives are just too basic. He needed something with more horsepower, which is why he chose a chainsaw. And then he thought holding an apple down on a plate and then chopping it up was for amateurs. He should just stick the apple in his mouth from the get-go. Now the setup was pretty simple, but the execution is a whole different thing. Just one small slip, and he would be executing himself instead. Here's how this IRL game of Fruit Ninja went down. With the chainsaw revving in his hands, Wang Lei carefully aligned it with the apple held in his mouth, and then sliced it in half with the precision of a mentally disturbed surgeon. As soon as the apple was sliced, his friend quickly placed the next one in his mouth. It was a well-oiled operation, as well-oiled as that chainsaw. Doing this once or twice is already heart-stopping, but Wang Lei kept going until he cut 28 apples in just 1 minute. This record was set in 2020, and we really hope no one tries to break it. Because honestly, if something goes wrong, there won't be a trip to the hospital. The person would just be done for, right then and there. And no one wants their tombstone to say, died in an apple chopping accident. Longest full body ice contact. If you've ever taken a freezing cold shower, you know it takes a lot of mental strength and tolerance to stay in it for just a minute or two. But there are some crazy people out there who are taking it to a whole new level. Meet Lukasz Punar, Poland's answer to Frosty the Snowman. This man isn't just dipping his toes in icy water. He's diving in with his entire body and staying there long enough to basically become a human popsicle. On November 4th, 2023, Lukasz broke the world record for the longest duration of full body contact with ice. He achieved this teeth-chattering feat with a time of 4 hours and 2 minutes. Obviously, what Lukasz did is no walk in the park. It's more like a marathon in the Arctic, barefoot, in his underwear. We're talking about temperatures at or below freezing. This kind of exposure can lead to hypothermia, frostbite, and other serious risks. So the next time you're taking a cold shower and squealing like a chipmunk, spare a thought for Lukasz Punar, the man who made the ice his home. Surviving multiple lightning strikes. Getting struck by lightning is incredibly rare, like in 1 in 15,000 rare. Which is why the story of Roy Cleveland Sullivan, the man who got struck by lightning 7 times, is almost unbelievable. It started in 1942 when lightning struck a fire lookout tower, where Sullivan was hiding during a thunderstorm. When he ran out of the burning tower, the lightning was like, "Oh no you don't," and zapped him again. Fast forward 17 years, while driving his truck on a mountain road, lightning deflected off nearby trees and hit him, knocking him unconscious and setting his hair on fire. Then came the 70s, which were just cursed for Sullivan. In 1970, lightning jumped from a nearby power transformer to his left shoulder while he was in his front yard. Then in 72, he was struck while working inside a ranger station. 73, lightning set his hair on fire again and seared his legs while he was in his vehicle. During a walk in 76, lightning injured his ankle and burned his hair a 3rd time. Dude should have just got a buzz cut or something. And finally in 1977, while on a fishing trip, lightning caused burns on his chest and stomach. At that point, even the fish probably saw that coming. Most feet and armpits sniffed. Depending on who you ask, Madeleine Albright either had the worst or the greatest job of all time. You see, every day, Madeleine would march into Hilltop Research Laboratories with her nose held high. This lab was designated to test products by Dr. Scholl, the renowned foot care brand that offers a wide range of products, including shoe inserts, insoles, and various treatments for foot-related issues. Madeleine was a truly valuable member of the Dr. Scholl family, as she held the coveted position of an odor tester. And yes, this means exactly what you're thinking, to test the effectiveness of their foot and underarm products. Madeline had to smell the feet and armpits of the test subjects to determine if the products were doing their job. So basically, a test subject would come in after a day of using Dr. Scholl's new foot spray. Madeline, with a curious and confident face, would take a whiff of the subject's foot. If the foot smelled like a fresh bouquet of roses, she'd give a thumbs up. But if it smelled like rotten sardines, she would adamantly declare, "Fire all the scientists that worked on this abomination of a spray at once." And so, over the course of her 15-year career, Madeline bravely sniffed around 5,000 feet and an uncountable number of armpits. Must have been a really aromatic experience. Most times waterboarded. Technically speaking, torture has been illegal under international law since 1987, but it seems that some governments just can't resist the temptation. Waterboarding involves strapping you down, tilting you back, and placing a cloth over your face. Water is then poured over the cloth, filling your nose and mouth. Within just seconds, you feel like your lungs are filling with water. You can't breathe, your chest is tightening, and panic starts setting in. You basically feel like you're drowning. All of this really makes you wonder why someone like Khalid Sheikh Mohammed was waterboarded 183 times in a single month. For those who don't know, Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, or KSM, was the mastermind behind 9/11, and this is exactly what happened to him. So maybe after waterboarding him for the 100th time and not getting any useful information, it's time to call it quits. It's beating a dead horse at that point. Except in this case, the horse is still alive and you're just beating it. So that whole situation was just a mess. All it did was etch KSM's name as the man who was waterboarded more than anyone else in history. Longest time holding breath. If there's one thing we can all agree on, is that breathing is pretty great. It's like the universe's free gift to us. No effort required, no strings attached. Meanwhile, holding your breath, even for one measly minute, is very painful and exhausting. You quickly start missing that sweet, sweet oxygen, and your body forces you to breathe again. It's like your lungs are saying, "Hey, remember that thing we love doing? Yeah, let's do that again." Now, if you start practicing holding your breath every day, or even every week, you might become a little endurance artist and manage to hit the 3-minute mark. But let's be real, going beyond 10 minutes, let alone 20, is a whole different thing. And by that, we mean it's almost impossible. And this brings us to our world record holder, the human fish himself, Budimir Sobat from Croatia. This man held his breath for an unbelievable 24 minutes and 37.36 seconds in March 2021. It's as if he took a short nap underwater. His journey to this record was nothing short of amazing. Despite diving into the world of freediving at the ripe age of 48, his dedication and intense training led him to this extraordinary feat. It's like when he was considering his options after retirement, he was like, "You know what I always wanted to do? Become a merman."